So the World Bank is basically viewed as an anti-poverty development project bank. It was created after World War II by the superpowers, and the idea behind it was that they wanted to attempt to alleviate crushing poverty around the globe, and they would set up this bank that could do loans to rural areas, again, to try to stop crushing poverty and to try to give people some kind of economic opportunity. In fact, here, let me give you the World Post's description or their definition of the World Bank. They say, quote, "The World Bank is the globe's most prestigious development lender, bankrolling hundreds of government projects each year in pursuit of its high-minded mission to combat the scourge of poverty by backing new transit systems, power plants, dams, and other projects it believes will help boost the fortunes of poor people." So far, so good. This is nothing but good news. This is what the idea behind the World Bank is. Well, the article today out in World Post details how oftentimes the bank essentially does the exact opposite of what their mission is, and they screw over poor people. So, for example, World Post says, quote, "On India's northwest coast, members of a historically oppressed Muslim community claim that heated water spewing from a coal-fueled power plant has depleted fish and lobster stocks in the once fertile Gulf where they make their living. The IFC loaned Tata Power, one of India's largest companies, $450 million to help build the plant." So, let's pause here and think about what I just described. You have the World Bank saying we're all about making poor people's lives better, and what do they really do, and what did they do in this case? They had, a business deal with a big business, with a corporation, and they gave them hundreds of millions of dollars, and then that corporation turned around and fucked over all the poor people they were supposed to help by massively polluting the area where they fish and where they make their living. So again, we have a situation where the World Bank is essentially financing the opposite of what its supposed mission is. So in various ways, people's livelihoods have been affected by the World Bank in a negative way. In Albania, they have another example in the article about how the World Bank loaned money to do coastal restoration. And instead of doing that, you had Albanian officials take the money and make a resort, and they proceeded to put all the fishermen out of work who worked in the area that then became the resort. Again, doing the opposite of what their mission is. But here's the craziest part. Quote, "The World Bank and its private sector lending arm, the International Finance Corporation, have financed governments and companies accused of human rights violations such as rape, murder, and torture. In some cases, the lenders have continued to bankroll these borrowers after evidence of abuses emerged." What? That one I look at and I'm like, what the fuck? So, not only is it like, whoops, we made a loan to the wrong people, our bad, we won't do it again. It's a situation where they'll make a loan to a repressive dictatorial government knowing that the government has raped people, they've been involved in murder, they forced people off land, and they're like, yeah, what do you mean? Well, these are our business partners, so we're going to give them a loan anyway. Not exactly in line with your so-called mission statement here. Again, if you see a recurring theme, there's a reason why I keep bringing it up, because that's what actually happened. They're doing the opposite of what they say their goal is. Furthermore, quote, "From 2009 to 2013, World Bank Group lenders pumped $50 billion into projects graded the highest risk for irreversible or unprecedented social or environmental impacts. Over the last decade, projects funded by the World Bank have physically or economically displaced an estimated 3.4 million people, forcing them from their homes to take their land or damaging their livelihoods." Okay, that's such a tremendously high fucking number. It's possible that that's outdone like the Syrian civil war, for example. That's, you're nearing the territory of what the displacement number was for people during the Iraq War. 3.4 million people have been pushed out of their homes because of projects funded by the World Bank. And again, your whole purpose, you say, is to help those people, but you're pushing 3.4 million off their land? So let me give you the specifics here. Let me give you the breakdown. In Asia, about 2.9 million people have been forced off of their land, with 221 resettlement projects being done. In Africa, 417,360 people have been forced off their land. 136 resettlement projects have been done. You have South America, 26,200 people. Europe, 5,500 people. Oceania, 2,500 people. And in North America, they've kicked 855 people off their land, and in the island states, about 90 people off their land. So again, the main takeaway here from this story is that oftentimes you must beware of the do-gooders, because when you have concentrated power, it always happens, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you give this group absolute power to alleviate poverty in all these downtrodden areas, and what do? It's not like they go directly to small farmers in Bangladesh. It's not like they go directly to your average Joe living in a third world country and they talk to them and they say, how can we help you out? How can we be of assistance? No, they go directly to the governments, the centralized powers. They go directly to big corporations and they say, can we just give you a shitload of money and then you do whatever the fuck you want? And then they do that, and then those governments and those corporations are brutally repressive and vicious, and they rape people and murder people and kick people off their land, and it's all done under the guise of, what, we're actually helping poor people. What do you mean? All this money is actually going to poor people. I mean, it's technically going to kick them off their land, but it is in one way or another going to them in that way. Not good. Not good. I think that the International Criminal Court and the UN and even NATO or somebody should get involved here and really set up a better system that has more checks and balances, and set up a system where you can get the money directly from people who want to give money to poor people and get it directly to poor people, as opposed to these middlemen who are screwing up absolutely everything.